Today we're going to talk about decisions. And the central question that I have for you today, which we're going to get back to by the end of our discussion, is do we control our decisions or do our decisions control us? So I want to ask you to think for a minute about a time when you had to make a choice. It was not an easy decision. You knew that you had to pick one thing. You may have wanted two things and you could only choose one. Or maybe you had to decide about something that you knew was going to have huge consequences. And you had no way of knowing whether or not that choice was going to be appropriate for you. You couldn't live it out and then decide. You had to choose and then follow through on it no matter what happens. So you don't have to share specifics with me, but has anyone experienced some kind of decision-making moment? And you could tell me a little bit about how it felt, what the process was, what kind of thoughts went through your mind, how, with the emotions. Yeah.
It was a lot of back and forth, self-doubting.
Good.
Whether it's going to be the right decision or not.
Okay, good. So a lot of back and forth, a lot of self-doubt, not knowing for sure whether or not you made the right decision. And I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of ein simcha ela kataras hasfekos. Have you guys heard of that?
Yeah.
Right? So what that means is that there's no joy if you are in the clutches of doubt. It is impossible to feel content, to feel happy, if you're struggling with a decision, okay? Just like what you were saying, all right? You have this back and forth, you have this discontent. Now, is it that simple? Is it that simple that just by making a choice, you have obliterated any degree of tension in your life? So we're going to take a look at The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Have any of you ever heard of this poem? Yeah. I would hope so. Okay. Typically, what does this poem symbolize? What associations do people generally have with the poem? You could just take a guess. Like when you heard of it, when either you learned it in school or it was recited at a graduation, what is usually the sentiment behind the poem? Yeah?
Assuming it has to do something with choices and that the road, not the choice that you didn't make.
Okay, that's really good. It has the choice that you didn't make. It has a lot to do with choices and whether or not you made the right one, okay? Now, often, this poem is interpreted as a celebration of the individual, right? I did the thing that no one else would do. I did something different. I took the road not taken, okay? Yay me. However, if we do a careful, close reading, especially with this question in mind, we're going to see that it's not that simple. So I have a chart for you where by number, you're going to mark off lines from the poem, and it's going to check off one of these boxes, either celebration of the individual or perhaps a representation of indecision. So let's go through the poem. First and foremost, when we go through a poem, we look at the title, The Road Not Taken. Would you put a check mark in the box for individuality or for indecision with the road not taken? They both start with I. Hang on 1 second. All right, that's a V and there's a C. Okay, so what do you think? Road not taken. Which column would you put it in? Yeah.
Decision.
Indecision. Why?
Because if it's not taken, it has more of a fearful connotation.
Okay, excellent. Has kind of a fearful connotation. What would have been with that road? I'm thinking about the road I didn't take, okay? So maybe, could someone make an argument that it's actually about individuality? Yeah.
Because if you said you didn't take it, then you already decided, and that you could maybe be content with your decision.
Yeah, you could be content with your decision. You've already done it. And also, you could be celebrating the fact that what you did was not popular. Okay? This is something that most people don't do, but look at me, I did it. Okay? So it could go either way. All right? Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. So this is what we call an extended metaphor. Okay? We're not literally talking about two paths in a wood, right? Metaphorically, we are comparing what to what? Yeah.
One choice to another.
Okay, so we're comparing choices to a path diverged in a wood, okay? So I have to choose which path to go on. Do you think that's a good metaphor? Yeah? Why? What makes it a good metaphor? Other than the fact that Robert Frost chose it, so it must be good. But what's good about having this image of a path? Yeah?
Because you have to choose which way to go.
You have to choose which way to go, and you can't do both, right? And you can't really go back and do the other one, okay? You have to choose, and then that's it, all right? So in a yellow wood, just very quickly, thoughts on why it's yellow specifically? What does that tell us? What would make a wood yellow? The trees, the leaves, specifically. What season would that involve? Yes?
Fall.
Excellent. Okay, good. Yes. So fall, any thoughts on why fall would be an appropriate setting, yeah?
Because fall is like an in-between, between like summer and winter, which are two extremes, so it's kind of like the indecisiveness.
I like that. An indecisiveness between two extremes, okay? It's a time of transition, a time of new beginnings. To me, it also feels like that's often when your choices come to roost, right? You chose a seminary. It's going to be in the fall when you discover if you chose the right one, okay? You chose a college, all right? Fall is when that begins, okay? And sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. What does that mean? I wish that I could do both, right? And be the same person. Wouldn't that be nice? I'm deciding between Harvard and Princeton. If only I could go to Harton, right? But I can't. I have to pick one and I can't go down the other. So which column would that go in? Indecisive, absolutely. Okay, good. Oh, I forgot to put the other check there. Sorry. Okay, fine. I looked down one, so long I stood, I looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Meaning, what does that mean? Yeah?
Like he tried seeing as far as he could into the future.
Good. Which would go into which box?
Honestly, go into both. But
Why?
Because like if you're indecisive, like it tries to help you make a decision, but at the same time, if you're trying to be like individual, it can be like what's so different than everybody else.
Okay, good. I agree. I think those are good arguments that you're saying that it could be both. Because on the one hand, it could be, I'm not going to choose this unless I know everything about it. I have to like live it out before I can fully decide, as if that ever works, right? Or maybe it's individuality. Maybe it's a question of, I need to see all the unusual, nonconformist elements of this path. All right? Then took the other as just as fair and having perhaps the better claim. This is a very interesting sentence to me. What is he saying? It's a little confusing. Can someone tell me what he's saying? I took the other as just as fair and having perhaps the better claim. What would you call that? That's that statement that he just made. It's a contradiction, right? He's contradicting himself. He's saying, so I took the other, it was just as good, but maybe it was a little bit better. That's what you were saying before about decision making, right? That a lot of times when you're contemplating what you want to do, you're going to justify, you're going to talk back to yourself, really this is better, but the other one's just as good. That one's also fine. I don't know. So it would go in indecisive, okay? All right. It was grassy and wanted wear. Grassy and wanted wear, I never really got what that meant when I was in 7th grade and I read this poem. Anyone know what it means? To want wear. Yeah.
I would say that it's like not used and
It's not used. Excellent. Okay. It's like asking to be used. And that also means that it's not typical. Okay. So it's grassy and wanted wear would go where? Individual. But he then says, though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same, which is again a contradiction. And it also kind of implies that, once you take it, it's not necessarily any more exciting than the other one. So where would that go? Yeah. Okay. All right. And both that morning equally lay. Once again, they're the same, okay? But somehow that makes the decision harder. And leaves no step had trodden black, all right? So, he still can't figure it out, okay? He hasn't gone anywhere. He doesn't know what he's going to do. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. So what does that mean? He's walking along, he's on one, and he's tricking himself. He's saying, well, at any time, I could just go back, right? But in fact, he knows he won't. So is that the pride of the individual? No. It's indecisive, right? Okay. Then he goes on to say, I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence. I love this last stanza the best. I shall be telling this with a sigh goes in which column?
Indecisive.
Or? It all depends on what kind of sigh. What kinds of sighs can there be? There could be a sigh of satisfaction or a sigh of regret, right? Okay, so I'm going to be telling this with a sigh. He leaves it ambiguous, and it could really go either way. Some are ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. So when we have that double I, which I love, I could be a celebration of, look what I did. I did the thing that most people don't do, yay me. Or what could it be?
It could be like maybe I should have taken the other one.
Yeah,
maybe I should. A different one, but maybe.
Who knows, right? I should have taken or I could have taken, I'll never know. And he concludes by saying, and that has made all the difference. Good difference or bad difference? It doesn't say. So therefore, we don't know because he doesn't know. So here's my question for you. If you have no joy until you've made a decision, And if in making a decision, you have obliterated all doubt and tension and turmoil, as the Gemara says, then where did Robert Frost go wrong? What do you think? Why was it that making the decision wasn't enough? Yeah?
Because he kept looking back at like what I could have done instead of living in the present and being like, I'm just going to make the best out of what situation I entered into.
Excellent. Because he kept looking back, because he didn't live with his decision, he lived with his indecision. When you make a choice, you make two choices. The first is that you choose something. You have two options and you choose one. The second choice is that you let go of the other one, right? Because you can make a choice but still hold on to the doubt. And if you do, that's on you, right? That's the way you chose to handle the fact that you can't have everything you want. And one of the most challenging aspects of maturity as we become individuals and as we separate from the surroundings that have molded us and start to make our own path, a big part of what helps that happen and helps create our character is being able to say, I can't have everything. I can't go everywhere. I can't be everything. I'm going to have to choose a door and close another one. And it's very bold to be able to do that. But that is what helps us become who we are. And it's very difficult, if not impossible, to enjoy that experience of confidence and closure that comes with a decision if we don't make a second decision, which is to stand by what we do and make the best of it. Thank you so much for listening.